Historic handover. 4.5 years after the invasion, British troops give up control of southern Iraq. Basra is tonight in Iraqi hands as Britain moves a step nearer to a complete withdrawal. Also on the programme, street fight murder. A teenager is stabbed to death. 2 others are seriously hurt in a mass brawl. And double top. Man United and Arsenal stay first and second after Grand Slam Sunday in the Premiership. Good evening. 4.5 years after the invasion of Iraq, British forces formally handed control of Basra province back to the Iraqis today. In March 2003, the soldiers were largely welcomed by Iraqi civilians. But since then, they've come under constant attack. 174 British troops have lost their lives. Today, Major General Binns, the man who led the invasion, praised the bravery of British servicemen and women as far beyond the call of duty. But the handover does not mean they'll be coming home. 2,500 will stay there to help train Iraqi forces. Our correspondent Juliette Bremner reports now from Basra.
Proud of their country and now a step closer to controlling it. Britain finally signed away her active military role in Iraq, a signature that spelt the end of a protracted and unpopular campaign. In the front row, Britain's Foreign Secretary was a mere observer. It was left to the man who'd led troops into Basra to formally hand it back.
4.5 years later, I have the privilege of handing the city and the province back to Iraqi control. I came to rid Basra of its enemies, and I now formally hand Basra back to its friends.
Minutes after this deal, Iraqi tanks were rolling into Basra. There's little sign of friendship on the ground, though. For months, they've told the British they weren't wanted on joint patrols. Now, UK forces must have an explicit invitation if they're ever to venture onto these streets again.
Most telling was the fact that this important meeting wasn't held in a governor's palace somewhere in downtown Basra, but was held here at the airbase, which is home to British forces well outside the city limits, presumably because it was deemed the only place safe enough to bring together senior Iraqi and British officials.
At another British base, we saw army recruits being trained. Although there are complaints that they don't have enough equipment, these are the men expected to tackle the Basra militias. Everyone says they're ready, and it's true, there hasn't been a meltdown yet.
When we withdrew British forces from Basra Palace in September, people said within 5 minutes, before you can say Jack Robinson, they'll be flying a Jaish al-Mahdi militia flag above the Basra Palace. Has that happened? No.
But he knows that the pullback from Basra Palace under cover of darkness only happened after a deal was done with the militia. As the British prepare to leave Iraq, they must be questioning whether it was worth sacrificing 174 lives for such an uncertain legacy. Juliette Bremner, ITV News, Basra.
The former socialist MSP Tommy Sheridan was tonight charged with perjury. He was awarded £200,000 in damages last year following a defamation case against the News of the World newspaper. And a brief warning for you, there was a flurry of flash photography as Mr Sheridan made a statement tonight.
And I believe that I am the victim of a witch hunt from the Murdoch Empire. I will prove my innocence in the fullness of time.
As the year draws to a close, 2 more families are mourning victims of Britain's knife culture. Ahmed Hassan was stabbed to death in West Yorkshire yesterday afternoon, and 16-year-old David Novak died in the early hours of this morning after being caught up in a mass brawl at Stoke Newington in North London. In London alone, 25 teenagers have been murdered this year. Harry Smith reports.
Throughout the day, dozens of police officers searched the streets around where the stabbing took place, looking for clues as to what happened and possibly a murder weapon. It was in this community centre that a birthday party was taking place. When it ended at about 11 o'clock, a series of running battles broke out in the streets nearby, involving up to 100 teenagers. It was at this spot that the 16-year-old was stabbed, the bloodstains still visible on the pavement. He was rushed to hospital but was pronounced dead a little more than an hour later. Local residents say they're worried because this is the second murder in the area in 2 months.
They're too quick to pick up a knife or a gun and shoot people, and they need to really think about life and what's the meaning of life, and they need to stop doing what they're doing, man, because then they're killing their own. They're killing their own people, and it's just getting younger and younger.
14 teenagers have been arrested. They're now being questioned at a number of police stations in North and East London while the search of the area continues. As well as their search of the area, police have appealed for any of the teenagers who were at the party or anyone else who saw the disturbance to contact them. And they've promised that anyone who does will be treated with the strictest confidence. Harry Smith, ITV News, North London.
And there have been more arrests in connection with the other teenage murder in West Yorkshire. Ahmed Hassan was stabbed to death at Dewsbury train station yesterday afternoon. 2 other men have been arrested today, bringing the total in custody to 3. And 2 people have been killed after 2 planes collided over Staffordshire. One came down in a field near Uttoxeter after the mid-air crash. The other made an emergency landing at East Midlands Airport. Football, and there's no change at the top of the Premiership tonight after wins for both Arsenal and Manchester United on Grand Slam Sunday. Sir Alex Ferguson's team beat Liverpool at Anfield. League leaders Arsenal defeated Chelsea for the first time in almost 4 years. Matt Rumsey watched the action.
Welcome to the Emirates. Looked like the greeting offered by Arsenal's William Gallas to his former Chelsea teammates John Terry and Petr Cech. Chelsea captain Terry was a less welcome guest though after half an hour. That challenge resulted in a yellow card and what looked like less than polite discussion. It was a real bruising contest. This tackle put John Terry out of the game. Then Arsenal scored. It had, of course, to be William Gallas against his old club. Goalkeeper Petr Cech will consider that, though, a grave error. Andrei Shevchenko almost converted an equalising free kick for Chelsea in time added on, but the final score 1-0, Arsenal's first win over Chelsea since February 2004. Meanwhile, Manchester United were in Liverpool. Games don't come any bigger than these, so when Wayne Rooney's shot was tapped in by Carlos Tevez just before half-time, there was an air of shock around Anfield. At the highest level of football, errors are infrequent but cost teams dearly. The home side left Tevez alone in front of the net, and the Argentinians' reflex reactions gave United the only goal of the game. Sir Alex Ferguson, taking charge of United for his 50th time against Liverpool, said it was a typical encounter between the two teams. It lacked flowing football, but it was a big win. Matt Rumsey, ITV News.
So, those results mean the top of the table looks like this tonight. Arsenal stay top with Manchester United hot on their heels. Chelsea are third, 6 points behind the leaders. Liverpool's defeat to Manchester United leaves Manchester City in fourth. In Scotland, Celtic suffered a shock defeat, their first ever to Inverness Caledonian Thistle in the Scottish Premier League. Gordon Strachan's team were 2-0 up at Caledonian Stadium but lost the match 3-2. Second half goals from David Proctor and Don Carey gave Inverness an unlucky victory. And that is it from the Weekend News team. There are bulletins throughout the night, but from all of us here, bye-bye.
The ITV National Weather is sponsored by E.ON.
Hello, good evening. Well, the weather theme for the week ahead is generally a dry one, albeit cold. There'll be plenty of cloud around and some sunshine from time to time. Certainly a chilly old night out there. In fact, a widespread frost tonight. Temperatures down as low as -4, even colder in 1 or 2 slots. Do watch out for some patchy freezing fog up towards the northeast of England and southeast of Scotland. Now, sadly, this stubbornly persists as we go into tomorrow morning, making for a miserable old day. Temperatures pegged way back, slowly lifting. And for the southern half of the country, it's cloudy skies, always the very best of the brightness, up towards the north, towards the west as well. Cold everywhere. Do wrap up warmly, and also bear in mind there'll be a freshening wind. And that's all from me. Good night.
The ITV National Weather is sponsored by E.ON.
Fine cinema weather. Yes, I know 118.
118118.com. For whatever, whenever, in all weather.
So conditions over the next few days are remaining settled. We're going to hold on to mainly dry weather, but it's going to be pretty cold. Now let's put things in context. And as always, it's this high pressure that is responsible for the settled conditions at the moment. If I run the sequence, you'll notice that in fact there's not really a great deal of change. Certainly as we work our way through the coming few days, we're going to hold on to high pressure so that by the time we get to Thursday, there's not really any alteration in the weather patterns. It's going to remain dry, but there is a greater chance perhaps of seeing a little bit of brightness by the tail end of the coming week. But in the meantime, it is cold. Certainly overnight, under clear skies, we're going to see temperatures falling quite rapidly down to freezing or even below freezing for most of us. There will be a widespread frost as a result. A chance also of 1 or 2 mist patches forming, but by the end of the night, we are going to start to see a little bit more cloud arriving in the east of our patch, and this heralds a little bit of a change tomorrow, a subtle change to our weather conditions in the form of much more cloud cover tomorrow. We're also going to notice the breeze starting to pick up as we work our way through the day tomorrow. By the afternoon, we're left with overcast skies, no winter sunshine to enjoy at all. A slightly keen breeze blowing in from the east, just taking the edge off tomorrow's temperatures, which are set to peak at around 5 degrees Celsius, but it will be feeling noticeably colder than that courtesy of that wind. But beyond that, things are set to improve. By Thursday, dry and bright once again, lighter winds, temperatures at best up to 6 degrees. Good night.